Alyssa Fassel Dunn, and welcome to Broad Appeal, a show where we feature boss women and queen bees who are writing and living by their own rules. So today we are talking to Ellen Rogers of Ellen Rogers Photography. Welcome to the show, Ellen.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so glad that you could come in today and talk to us about all the awesome photographic things you're doing.
Thanks.
So the first thing I want to talk about is your background. So a lot of times people come on the show and their background is completely different from what they're doing now, which is always interesting. And it's also interesting when people are doing what they wanted to do when they grow up.
Yeah.
So can you tell us more about your degree?
Well, right. So I guess, in high school, I figured out that photography was what I wanted to do. And that's when I started, when I was 16. And then when came time to choose college, there were really only two programs in the country. There was Brooks Institute in California, which, in high school was pretty appealing.
Yeah. California, the lore.
Yeah, exactly. But the one that really stood out was the Rochester Institute of Technology in Rochester, New York. And it had an extremely comprehensive program, a full Bachelor of Arts, and it was also closer to the East Coast. So I grew up in Iowa, but my mother actually grew up here in Milton. So I spent a lot of time as a kid coming and visiting Milton and Boston. And, as a kid in Iowa, I always said, I want to live in Boston when I grow up.
So you were like a little closer in Rochester.
A little closer
driving
in
distance?
upstate New York, driving distance, which
Absolutely.
I did a lot.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like a really easy, natural choice. Plus, they had early admission, so that made my senior year a lot more fun.
Definitely. And so, can you tell me a little bit about how this degree it's more comprehensive than other degrees at the time? Is that it? Or
absolutely.
Were the other ones just arts?
Well, it was mostly art schools.
Okay.
So I also looked at NYU, and actually, I think I skipped even applying because I already had the early admission. But so Tisch School of the Arts was an option. And that was it. Maybe RISD had come up, but none of them had what RIT had, which was the full technical background, as well as, they had academic requirements. I mean, I really liked school. I really enjoyed academics.
So you wanted that too?
I did.
Yeah.
I mean, they required you to have an academic minor. And really every facet of photography was addressed. They had technical photography programs for people that photograph eyeballs and, nose hairs and stuff like that. I don't even know.
Wow, okay.
I mean, anything, right? Microscopes and stuff like that. Right,
Yeah.
It's all part of photography. And you could be completely artsy-fartsy there, or you could do what I did, which was
almost scientific, it sounds like.
Yeah, it was scientific, absolutely. And they called it technical photography back
then.
And but you could do what I did, which was the commercial program. So they called it photographic illustration, which was really commercial photography. And it was wonderful. I mean, you learned every aspect. You learned about art direction. You learned about advertising. You learned about lighting. You learned about, back then everybody still worked in a dark room. Does everybody remember chemicals?
Right.
Yeah. And you learned every part of it, how to make your own developer, the chemical composition of everything, the science behind vision and how we see color and the range of colors that we see. And it was, I mean, honestly,
Sounds
really
like a
fascinating.
wonderful experience.
Yeah.
Do you miss the lab? Now that
No.
No? Okay. Not at all?
No, not at all.
Okay.
It's funny, getting out of college and moving here to Milton, I actually had a dark room in my house where I was living that I really ended up not touching. Of course, I worked at a lab, so that helped.
Right.
But,
But you were okay to part with the old ways of photography.
Fine. It's changed the industry a lot.
Yeah.
Some ways are good, and some ways had a different impact, maybe. But it's made it fun, I think.
Well, it's a lot more accessible.
Yeah.
To sort of amateurs, which I suppose could be good and bad, but it's nice to be able to play around with it and not have to worry about someone else developing your photos and being able to apply your own tweaks and adjustments and that sort of thing.
Right. And I mean, maybe other photographers would agree or not, but I think in a way it's helped people appreciate better photography.
Yes.
Now that anybody can take a picture,
what makes you stand out?
What makes it stand out, and what's going to be a better quality image or a more interesting image, or I think in that way it's been actually kind of helpful.
Right. I love your positivity.
Yeah.
So once you got out of college, then what?
Oh,
What'd you do?
All the regular photographer things, like when, because you get out of
photograph
school,
weddings?
you're like, I'm going to New York and working for Annie Leibovitz, right? Yeah, who isn't?
How was that?
Yeah, no. I'm sure it was great for whoever did it. I'm sure they were thrilled. Actually, I did know one of her assistants, and
Yeah.
it's fine. It's a job. But I worked in a photo lab, really fun. I then became a commercial photography assistant. That was sort of the traditional, almost like apprenticeship to work your way up. And I think it probably still is in a lot of ways. But there are also people who make a great living and are really clutch photo assistants. And it was a lot of fun. It was a ton of fun, actually. I really loved that part of my job. At the same time, I met, this is like 94, 95 when I got here, I met the owner of a company named Coffee Pond Photography, and they actually specialized in kid portraiture, so schools, camps, families, which was a great fill-in for me, between the commercial assisting and stuff like that. It was a terrific sort of side gig, and ended up being really key to the kind of the rest of what I did. Now, I took a nice hiatus in the early 2000s, and I had a greeting card business for a while.
I remember that.
It was great. I have to say, it was a great name. It was called Happy Tuesday.
That is a great name.
Cards for any day.
And today's Tuesday.
And today's Happy Tuesday.
Happy
my
Tuesday.
gosh. It was, truly, it was really great. I started it with a dear friend, and it was a great partnership. But like these things happen. I think probably starting a print-based company at the dawn of internet and e-cards and stuff was probably, marginally wise on our part. But it was a terrific experience.
Yeah, you had a good
learned
time.
a ton, had a great time. And that was all done by '04. And then I actually went to work full-time for Coffee Pond Photography. So instead of being behind the camera for a lot of that time, I really loved the other parts of the business. So I did a lot of production assistance. I did some actual production. I did a lot of location scouting and casting. I was really good at real world casting. I would walk up to anybody and I was that person who was like, hey, you want a model? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, hey, you look like you could model. We're looking for someone, right?
Like, what, me?
I mean,
you got to be that person.
I got to be that person. I mean, I don't think
You're
a lot
discovered.
of exactly. I don't think a lot of 20-something girls were doing that. But it was great. And I really loved sort of that ancillary stuff because photography really was evolving and changing. And I knew I wasn't the commercial photographer. I didn't want to be that guy. It was just an edge that I wasn't ready to go to yet. And the way it was back then was different. And I didn't want to do weddings full time because
that sounds stressful.
It is.
It sounds really stressful.
I do enjoy them, to be honest.
I like going to them.
Yeah. Oh, I got to do that recently. I didn't take my camera to a wedding recently.
Yeah. It's a treat.
Anyway, so I kind of did that for a while, and then I went back to work for Coffee Pond, and then I was a photography coordinator. So I got to hire and manage. When I left, it was 36 photographers, and so
these are all the things we don't think of.
Right. Yeah.
So you had all those people that you managed.
All those people. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And all the people you discovered.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most of them are.
Where are they now?
Right. Most of them are dear friends.
Yeah.
And all of them are. Most of them, I think, are all still taking pictures. So it's been terrific.
You are an influencer, which is great.
So
right here in Milton, you also do a lot of volunteer work. So let's back up 1 second. So now, are you working exclusively for yourself?
Yes, I've been working exclusively for myself since when my first child was born in 2008. It was a really good time to come back behind the camera. I freelance for Coffee Pond, and I do freelance for other companies doing graduations and things like that, which is so fun.
I bet.
And but I'm exclusively self-employed.
Okay.
So having the kids was really a catalyst.
Yeah, it's a game changer, isn't it?
I think that's how we met.
I think it probably is.
Brugers, maybe?
Most likely.
Yeah.
So now that you're exclusively for yourself, you do your own work. Would you say you do it full-time or part-time?
Seasonally.
Okay.
I would say from August through December, it's full time. And in
then
the
you get
spring,
some breaks.
it's busy. Yeah. And then it slows down, which actually is one of the reasons that it's terrific as a parent.
Right, because by the time summer rolls around, people aren't booking their sessions off the clock. Maybe?
Right.
Am I making that up?
Well, yeah.
that.
So about the summer, sunset happens once a day, and summer is a great time for beach pictures. So
they are lovely.
They are lovely. It's usually warm and comfortable on the beach.
Right, and the light is perfect.
The light is wonderful at around 8:30. So
maybe the kids aren't, but the light is.
Yeah. That's why I do actually. I think beach pictures in September is a good plan.
Yeah,
because
that's when we get ours done. Actually,
earlier.
We usually have ours done in September because the sun sets a little earlier and it's not as hot.
It's not as hot. That is,
and everyone's back.
Yeah,
we're back from whatever things we've been doing, vacations, that sort of thing.
But I go to the Cape a lot, so that's nice to do kind of destination stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a treat. And you do lots of volunteer work here in Milton. We were just, let's go back right to that.
Back up. So the kids were also part of that because a lot of what I like to do does revolve around the school and helping the PTO as much as possible.
Yeah.
Collicott is where both my children go, and they do a fundraiser every other year that I love to participate in, and all the proceeds from that all the sitting fee proceeds from that go to Collicott.
Right.
And every year, actually this is the third year where I have done holiday mini sessions.
Nice.
Yeah, it's great for two things. So the holiday mini sessions that I do, I try to pick a nonprofit with a local connection. I've done Cradles to Crayons, the Milton Animal Shelter, and the Forbes House Museum, which was really great this year. They are terrific. If you haven't been,
I'm sure
have to go.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And so your favorite subjects to photograph seem to be children and families.
Well, people. Just people.
Humans.
Humans.
Okay.
I like dogs too. I like dogs, cats. I had a bird once at a session. That was actually kind of cool.
I bet.
Yeah.
As a family,
it was a parrot.
Family member?
Yeah. As a family member, they brought it. This was down in Rhode Island. This was many years ago, but I will never forget the parrot. So.
Yeah, it sounds kind of unforgettable. That's amazing. Yeah. So now, this show's all about women, and we're both parents, and we are both parents to girls.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I don't know if you notice the problem that I have it. I feel like a lot of moms have it. As a mom, you're often not in the pictures. I mean, I'm often the one behind the photographs, and I'm in, once in a while I'm in the pictures, but what are your thoughts on that? Why does that happen? Dads, why aren't you taking more pictures?
Oh, yeah, right? That's a great question.
Right.
Well, I think, like you said, a lot of times we are sort of the documenters of our children's lives, partly because we still live in a society where women are more present sometimes with the kids. And I mean, why it happens. Partly, I just think we don't like to be in front of the camera.
I mean, it's absolutely a phenomenon.
Yeah, absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
In every household, there is one partner that does the photographing and one that doesn't. I feel like there's always that one person. But I do feel like in a heterosexual household, it's generally
the woman.
So you think we don't want to be behind the camera? I mean, in front of the camera.
In front of the camera for a myriad of reasons.
Let's talk about those reasons.
I think,
why not?
Because we're all really self-conscious, and we've been trained to be really self-conscious and often hypercritical. A lot of us are detail-oriented, and we're looking at everything and really wanting everything to go just the way we want it, which is fine, great, me too. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Very type A. And even if you're not, everybody wants to. If you feel good, you want to look good, right?
Right.
And I hope that many of us are happy in what we do and in our lives, and you want that to show. And the way that we express that is by making sure everything looks a certain way. And it's hard if you feel like you're not sort of meeting that standard.
Yeah. I mean, so let me ask, when you're taking photographs of families or groups of people, do you ever see men go, oh, just hang on?
Yeah.
Do you see it?
Once, yeah, actually, yeah, I absolutely do. Guys, You know what? That's a really interesting question. That is because
or percentage of time wise.
There's a difference
in the way that
it's expressed.
Now I have hair in my eyes.
Right. I know. I'm like, okay, there's a hair in my eye. I know. So right. This is actually really a good thing because I'm sitting here like trying to not do all the things that like people, like I want my hair to look a certain way or whatever. But so women are usually sort of tend to be more like, okay, my hair, the kid's hair, sit up straight, whatever. Guys do that too, but it's often more externalized. Like they're really looking for everybody to have a certain look, maybe.
Interesting. And so not so much just them individually?
I think
more like the group?
Less. I think more of like, let's make sure every shirt cuff is right and, straighten the tie and the jacket, and it's very individual to each person's personalities. But I think the men don't express quite as much self-criticism. For instance, like, oh, my hair, I'm having a bad hair day. Like, I don't think I would hear a guy say that, but I might hear them say, oh, my pants aren't ironed right. Or,
right.
It's a little subtle difference.
It's interesting. So more like like you said, more like the external, meaning like the props, the clothes, as opposed to the visage.
And this is a generalization.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Exceptions to everything.
I have men walk in sometimes where they're like, oh, geez, I've got this thing on my face. I'm like, I gotcha.
Right.
Don't worry. Forget all about
Healing tool.
Yes, healing tool. It's gone. And that's actually great because, then everybody can relax. And,
right. I can fix that for you.
Yeah.
So here, just to segue a little bit, we're both on social media. Everyone's on social media.
Yeah.
And when I scroll through my feed, which I do way too much, I see a lot of my friends and they don't look like my friends. They look like some interesting version of my friends where their faces are all sort of smoothed over and slightly morphed.
Snapchat.
And there's lots of weird filters. I mean, I'm not just talking like a filter to up the saturation, more like a filter that actually changes the structure of their face. What message is that sending?
A dreadful one. Absolutely dreadful. It sends a message that we're not good enough as we are, and that we need to fulfill a certain expectation and look a certain way in order to be accepted or popular. Raising girls I really struggle with this. My girls aren't on social media. They're too young. Yeah. And I kind of dread the day that it happens, but I also think about what tools can I give them. Things like, it's funny because it starts with something like Snapchat where it's kind of fun and it's cute to put antlers and hearts and honest to God, that's really fun.
But that's a little different from morphing your face and
different.
Doing that weird airbrushy thing.
Yeah, that whole
I don't even know what it's
face
called.
Tuner. I shouldn't even say it.
Face changer.
Yeah, that face.
Those
app.
face changing
face
apps.
App. And it's freaky.
Yeah.
You can do these things in Photoshop.
And they're done.
And
they have been done from the beginning of time. But that doesn't make it okay.
It doesn't make it okay.
And now it's expanded to, from makeup ads and that sort of thing to everyone.
Everyone.
You can all look like a model. Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah. It was nice a couple of years ago, there was a strong trend to the makeup free, like the naked face trend. And the people like models and actresses really calling out the publications and the advertisers saying, this isn't me.
That wasn't my body.
That's
my legs
not my body. I don't look like this. Yeah. And I wish that had gained more momentum.
Yeah, it did seem to fizzle a little.
I think so.
That's a bummer. I'm sorry. I feel bad about that.
We got to keep it going.
Yeah.
We have to keep it going. We just have to understand the difference between doing something for fun and doing something because we think that's how we're supposed to look in real life.
Right. No one's face is
flawless,
fuzzy and flawless like that, and no one's teeth are quite that white.
No, rarely. Not mine.
I don't think so. So now Mother's Day is coming up.
Yeah.
So, we just talked about moms not being in the pictures. And I know one of my favorite things, and I really insist upon it every year, even though my husband sort of rolls his eyes, I like to have family photos done every year, especially since the kids are young. And I like having some photos with me in them, quite frankly. So I don't want my kids one day to be like, where's mom? You know, when they look back at these pictures.
That's it. Where's mom?
Yeah,
exactly.
It's like Waldo, except mom. So I understand you're thinking about offering some mini sessions this Mother's Day.
Yes, absolutely. So
awesome.
So I try to do minis twice a year at the holidays and then around Mother's Day. And so the Mother's Day minis take place usually the last weekend in April and maybe that first weekend in May.
Perfect. When the weather starts to get a little nicer.
When the weather starts to get nicer and things are green and getting pretty.
Yes.
Because it is nice to be outside after a long winter.
It really is, especially here in New England.
Exactly.
So how can people, if they want to, they can either book one of those with you or they can book a regular session with you?
They can book a regular family session.
They do
so
this?
They can call me.
Okay.
Should I give my number?
I think you should.
617-947-5030. And they can also email Ellen at ellenrogersphotography.com.
Okay, perfect.
And that's where you would also go to see samples of what you might get while you're with me.
ellenrogersphotography.com.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you so much for talking about all those things. And now we are going to take a break and we're going to enjoy a treat. Hey everybody, we're taking a break. Thank you for joining us. Today we're going to make a winter elixir. So this will warm you up on those cold winter days. And what we have today is 1.5 ounces of vodka, a sprig of rosemary, 3/4 of an ounce of simple syrup, 1/2 ounce of fresh lemon juice, and 3/4 of an ounce of pomegranate juice. And we're going to top the whole thing off with a little bit of club soda. So what we need to do first is break up the rosemary a little bit, put it in a shaker, add the simple syrup, and beat it up a little bit with a muddler without trying to get it all over ourselves. So once you can really, really smell the rosemary and wipe the extra stuff off of your face, then you can start adding the other ingredients. So I am going to add the vodka, the lemon juice, which is fresh, the pomegranate juice, and I am going to find the top to this and shake it up just a little bit. This is not like a heavy duty shake right now, just a little bit. And then we're gonna strain it so that we don't get the rosemary all over the place. And this is also a really, really beautiful drink. And we'll add a little bit of the club soda to top it off. So it looks super pretty. We'll give it a whirl. Cheers. Oh, this is excellent. I wouldn't just use this in winter either. So thanks for joining us. And for more recipes, visit broadappealtv.com. I hope you all enjoyed that nice little break and treat. And now we're back with Ellen, who's going to give us a quick tip that makes her life easier. And we hope it makes your life easier.
Thanks, Melissa. So like some of you may have, I have a picky eater in my house. And one of the things that we found that helps us get through that is a thing we call menu night. It's really fun, something she actually asks to do. So what we do is we sit down at dinner while we're all eating, and everybody gets to pick what they want to eat for a certain night of the week. We do maybe 2 weeks at a time, and it's been terrific to help set expectations in our house and just make her comfortable knowing that mom's not going to be a short order cook every single meal. And it's really helped us, and I hope it helps you. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I hope it helps us too. I think it's a great idea because then you're not panicking at dinner time either, last minute trying to figure out what to do and making your kid oatmeal like I make mine.
Some nights it's oatmeal. So yeah.
Oatmeal's delicious. So thank you very much for coming to talk to us today. And thanks everybody for joining us. For more information about the show, please visit broadappealtv.com.